sat nav on here, and you've got communications, so in other words Bluetooth for your mobile phone. You can also do things obviously stationary like mobile Facebook and stuff like that. Also on there's two levels of sport specification. This is the 120 sport. There's also 150 brake horsepower sport, but both of them have what's called the heads-up display. So you will notice that your speed will come up on the heads-up display as well as obviously on the central area. So you'll think you're a Formula 1 racing driver. All right.
So as we're going round, would you be able to just like chat just?
Yeah, no problem at all.
Just kind of about the car and.
Yep.
I don't know my way around.
Don't worry, I'll direct you. Don't worry at all. Slowly come out the gear. Come around that lunatic. You okay? Come on. Okay, if you can turn left, please. At the roundabout ahead, if you can take the first left and you'll go down the dual carriageway.
Yeah, sure.
So the Mazda 3 was first designed and built in 2002. It replaced what was called the Mazda 323. To date, they've sold 4 million units in that period. But we expect this new model Mazda 3 that came out in January to be the best ever selling Mazda they've built to date. So you go in the left-hand lane, please, and the first left.
And what's the car's kind of fuel economy and running costs?
Okay, the one great thing about the new Mazdas coming on stream now, so first left please, is that basically they all have what's called Skyactiv engines in. So whereas before a lot of manufacturers buy each other's engines, so we had Ford engines, Peugeot engines, etc. Now they've designed their own engines and built them from the floor up. By that I mean that they've gone back to the drawing board and designing engines, and they've got what's called high compression ratios of a 14:1, which is very high. But by having that, we're the only manufacturer to do this. By having that, you have amazing fuel economy. So this is a 2-litre petrol. Normally you'd have a 1.6 litre petrol in a car of this size. They put a 2-litre petrol in it, and you get a combined fuel consumption figure of approximately 50 miles to the gallon. Well, that's unheard of in a petrol car. Normally you get a lot more fuel economy, you know, in a diesel car. Well, in our 2.2 litre diesels, they've got 63 miles to the gallon as a combined figure, so they're very high fuel economy figures. We've got a new Mazda 2 coming out in January next year, and they're testing a 1.5 litre diesel automatic that's doing 85 miles to the gallon. Well, it's just unheard of. So it's really good from our point of view. And by having high fuel efficiency, it also creates low exhaust emissions. And by doing that, your road license, for argument's sake, on this 2-litre petrol car is £120 a year. Well, normally on the 2-litre petrol old type of engine, your road license would be £230 a year. So you're saving quite a lot there, and obviously you're not making money, but saving money, I should say, on your fuel consumption, etc. So it's a win-win, really.
So how many miles to the gallon does it actually do?
This particular one does, it's stated in the brochures, it's just over 50. We prefer to say around about the 47, 48 miles. Because no one drives their car like a factory, you know, miles per gallon fuel figure. Because it's all done in a factory. And just keep going straight through the road, through the butane tunnel.
Are there kind of any safety aspects of the car that are kind of innovative?
Well, as standard features, basically you've got driver, passenger, airbags, side airbags and curtain airbags are standard. So there's between 6 and 8 airbags in here, depending on what the specification of the car is. You've got front and rear crumple zones. You've also got, as part of the Skyactiv, it's just not the engine, it's a stiffer chassis, which is good for crash protection, but also it's a lighter chassis because of the metal they're using. So by having the lightness, it doesn't compensate in any accident situations. And I believe that 5 years ago. This is bigger than its predecessor, not a huge amount, but it's bigger. By making it slightly bigger, obviously that enables there to be more interior space. The old Mazda Model 3 was not very good in the rear for passengers, whereas this one is a lot better. And keep bearing left, please. There'll be a filter lane, so just turn left, that's it, yes please. And the next roundabout goes straight on, or the second left, whichever you want to call it. Boot size, believe it or not, the 4-door saloon's got a marginally bigger boot than the 5-door hatchback, but they're equally good boots. You can get luggage in them and things like that. And Jad, you are. So straight across and follow that car ahead, please. And mind the speed humps. And at the lights ahead, if you can turn left, please. By having bigger cars, obviously it's a lot to do with crash protection and things like that as well. But it doesn't feel like a bigger car. And they've used a better quality of material for the interior manufacture of the interior stuff. It feels more luxurious, whereas before the cars felt a bit plasticky, to be quite honest with you.
And that's the kind of Mazda.
That's the Mazda way now, that they're going a bit more luxurious. You know, a lot of people are going that way because people won't put up with, you know, plasticky looking cars. If you can go in the right lane when you can, behind that Citroen, please. Just follow the Citroen.
What size engine does the car have?
Okay, the 2-litre petrols, various powertrains, so 120, which is this one, or 150 brake horsepower, and then there's a 2.2-litre diesel, and that comes in 150, and I think it's 170. In this lane and go straight across, please. So is this for your university project?
Yeah. No, it's for our website, so it will go onto there.
What about some of the more technological developments from the old Mazda 3?
Well, the main technological development is obviously the new type of engines that are more fuel efficient. Also, they're a bit more geeky. Bluetooth is standard. Sat nav is an optional extra, but again, that's a technological advancement for us. The heads-up display we've never had on vehicles before. Personally, I think it's a bit of a gimmick, but there we go. A lot of people seem to like it. The customers have had it so far.
What's the kind of idea behind it? I mean, the main...
It's basically the Formula 1 cars have it, and the reason they have it is so that you can look directly out the window, if that makes sense, and not look down and take your eye off the road, if that makes sense. So it's a safety aspect, really. I still class it as a gimmick, I'm sorry.
So do you think that kind of in general, all cars are getting much more gimmicky?
Yes, yeah. because, you know, I've been in the motor industry 20 odd, in this job for 20 odd years, with Mazda and, you know, left please, sorry. You know, I remember when anti-lock brakes was an optional extra, air conditioning was an optional extra, whereas, you know, those items are now standard. Satellite navigation is becoming more readily available, Bluetooth more readily available, etc. I mean, a friend of mine bought a second-hand Ford Focus the other day, and I haven't seen it in action, and I don't know whether I'd like to. But it does parallel parking for you, supposedly. You push a button and it somehow parallel parks the car. I'm like, I don't know if I like the sound of that.
Yeah, you feel so out of control.
He hasn't tried it, my friend hasn't tried it yet, so I'm like, I don't like the idea of that, sorry. And again, parking sensors, you know, in 2 out of the 3 models, specification models are standard, so again, rear parking sensors, that's another thing that you see more of.
So is the Mazda, so is this Mazda through the first time that they've kind of embraced those kind of gimmicks?
That's right, yeah. This is the first time that they've put the items predominantly as standard.